Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're here because today we are unpacking a truly baffling reality. I want you to just think for a second about the fact that a specific Hermès handbag recently sold at auction for over $300,000. I mean, that is literally enough to buy a house in many parts of the world, let alone an incredible family vacation. When you look at it purely logically, the numbers just don't seem to add up. Right? I mean, a single Swiss watch can easily cost more than a brand new sports car. Or how about a designer jacket that costs 10 times more than an identical one made from the exact same materials? It absolutely defies all common sense, and yet, every single year, millions of people willingly and even eagerly pay these jaw-dropping prices. From a purely practical perspective, this behavior is completely irrational. A $30 t-shirt covers your body just as well as a $300 one for sure. And when it comes to keeping time, that supercomputer sitting in your pocket right now, your smartphone, tells time far more accurately than a $15,000 mechanical watch ever could. A regular canvas bag carries your laptop and keys just as effectively as a Birkin bag, and this brilliantly illustrates the complete irrationality of these purchases. Which really forces us to ask, so why do luxury brands exist? And even more importantly, why do they continue to thrive in a world where you and I have access to more affordable, practical alternatives than ever before? Well, the answer actually has very little to do with the physical products themselves. They survive and thrive because they target something much deeper: human psychology. Okay, let's dive into this and peel back the layers of this psychological puzzle step by step. We're going to look at 1. Selling an identity, 2. The scarcity effect, 3. The Veblen phenomenon, 4. Heritage and craftsmanship, and finally 5. Extraordinary meaning. Let's start with number 1, selling an identity. You see, the biggest secret in this industry is that these companies aren't actually selling you leather, gold, fabric, or steel. They are selling an identity. And understanding this is basically their greatest competitive advantage. I want you to imagine walking into a typical discount store. The shelves are stacked tightly, bright neon signs are glaring everywhere, right? And there's this immense pressure to buy quickly before a big sale ends. Everything is geared toward high volume and rapid turnover. Now contrast that with walking into a high-end luxury boutique. The room is quiet, almost hushed. There is enormous, deliberate empty space between products, making a single handbag look more like a priceless museum artifact than something you just buy. An employee greets you by your first name, offers you a glass of champagne, and absolutely nobody pressures you to purchase a thing. This context primes the brain to perceive value. The environment literally changes your psychological perception of the object sitting right in front of you. Because luxury begins long before you even pull out your wallet. The carefully controlled warm lighting, the soft ambient background music, the physical spacing, even the heavy weight of the front doors. Every single sensory detail is meticulously crafted to communicate one unified, undeniable message to your subconscious. This is special. Moving on to the first really powerful psychological principle they use, number 2, the scarcity effect. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how our brains react to exclusivity. Imagine 2 identical watches. One is readily available at every single shopping mall in the country. The other is produced in tiny quantities with a massive multi-year waiting list. Which one instantly feels more valuable? For almost everyone, it's the second one. When something becomes difficult to obtain, our brains naturally assign it way greater value. It actually triggers a massive dopamine hit in the brain's reward center when we finally acquire something that we know thousands of other people want but simply can't have. That exclusivity, it is thrilling. But here's the kicker. Brands don't just passively benefit from scarcity. They manufacture it with ruthless precision. Hermès strictly limits the production of Birkin bags. You can't just walk in off the street and buy one with your credit card. No way. You actually have to be invited by the brand to make the purchase. Rolex carefully manages the availability of their most popular steel sport models. Ferrari intentionally produces fewer cars than global market demand would actually justify. The waiting list literally becomes a core feature of the product. Owning the item doesn't just signal wealth. It signals exclusive, insider access and elevated social status. This brings us to number 3, the Veblen phenomenon. So Veblen goods, named after the economist Thorstein Veblen, are this fascinating economic anomaly where luxury pricing totally defies standard economic logic. Unlike ordinary products, demand for a Veblen good might actually increase as the price goes up. Why? Because the high price itself is exactly what contributes to the product's appeal. Luxury companies absolutely depend on the psychology of consistency. If a highly coveted Birkin bag suddenly costs $300 tomorrow, its desirability among its core clientele would instantly disappear. Poof, gone. The massive price tag isn't a barrier, it's the very thing that reinforces the prestige and the story of the item. In the mass market, standard economic logic tells us that discounts encourage buying. But in luxury, high prices actually strengthen demand. Luxury brands rarely, if ever, offer significant discounts. Because if a company constantly discounts its products, customers start questioning the original intrinsic value of the brand. Instead of making customers feel clever for hunting down a bargain, luxury brands reward the people who are willing to buy right now at full price. That protects the investment of everyone who bought before them. Next up is number 4, heritage and craftsmanship. Picture a noisy, mechanized assembly line churning out thousands of identical bags every single hour. Now contrast that with a solitary artisan in a quiet workshop in Italy, spending 20 solid hours meticulously hand-stitching a single piece of premium leather. Even if the final physical utility of both products is completely identical, your emotional reaction to them is vastly different, isn't it? We inherently place greater value on visible, dedicated human effort. When you buy a $20,000 Swiss watch, you aren't paying for technological efficiency, you are paying for microscopic engineering, centuries of tradition, and an undeniable level of human skill. It's really all about building generational trust. We naturally trust things that have survived the test of time. Customers figure, hey, if a brand has been around for over a century, navigating world wars and economic crashes, they must be doing something fundamentally right. That's exactly why founding dates are plastered on logos, historic workshops are heavily celebrated in marketing, and customer service borders on the obsessive. Buyers are investing in generations of fiercely protected reputation and guaranteed after-sales support. Let's move to and see how this builds into what we call a highly engineered pipeline of anticipation. The journey often looks exactly like this. You join a waiting list, wait for months or even years. Some people even bribe their dealer with pastries just to stay top of mind. Then you get invited to an exclusive preview or private event, and only then do you finally reach ownership. These experiences deliberately activate the reward systems in your brain long before you actually take the item home. The pursuit itself becomes highly enjoyable, memorable, and deeply addictive. Finally, let's pivot to the deepest layer of our psychological onion. Number 5, extraordinary meaning. Because contrary to popular belief, luxury isn't always about flashing extreme wealth. Lots of people quietly save up for years to mark incredibly important life events: graduations, huge promotions, golden anniversaries, or retirement. In these deeply personal moments, the purchase acts as a physical manifestation of a major personal achievement. That underlying emotional meaning matters so much more than the object itself. The object just becomes a permanent, tangible marker for the milestone they've reached. So the crucial point is this. People don't simply buy products. They buy stories they can tell themselves. Stories about who they are, who they have become through their hard work, and who they deeply hope to be in the future. A beautifully crafted handbag becomes a piece of personal legacy passed down to a daughter. A sports car becomes a childhood dream finally fulfilled. When a brand successfully transforms a collection of raw materials into a potent symbol of identity, price is no longer the main conversation. Emotion completely takes over. I'll leave you with a final thought to mull over. What ordinary object in your life has extraordinary meaning, and what story is it telling you? The psychology behind luxury is truly one of the most powerful business strategies ever created, because at its core, it reflects something deeply and universally human. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you want to keep exploring the fascinating strategies shaping our world, be sure to hit that subscribe button. See you next time.